The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
The Dallas Cowboys select Michael Parsons. Woo!
And now, your hosts, Bryan Broaddus, Jeff Kavanaugh, Kyle Yeomans, and David Hellman.
The big voice guy lied to you less today. I'm stealing Jeff's intro there. Hi, it's Thursday, March 31st, 2022. It's time for another episode of the Draft Show. Make sure you pay your rent.
Pay your rent.
It's the 31st.
31st.
Make sure you are ready for the 2022 NFL Draft. It will be draft month in 12 hours, 14 hours. David Hellman back in the studio. I am back from the NFL owners meetings. It's good to be here. Kyle Yeoman's still out, but I am joined by my dear friends Bryan Broaddus and Jeff Kavanaugh. Guys, how we doing?
Doing great. Did you feel like you were told the truth when you were asking Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones questions about the draft?
I feel like I was told the truth in the sense that that is where all of their focus is right now. I don't know how much I trust the
Did you like the
particulars.
positions they were talking about?
Well, I went, I'm dedicated.
I know you are.
I went back and listened to the show that y'all did without me, and that's the line Jerry had about tackle.
Yeah.
I just was like, I don't know if I believe you. At least not like in the sense that it's like your number one priority. I don't know.
They'd love to find a tackle.
Of course they would
Just
love
a
to.
weird time to figure out the when and where of it.
Yeah, I know they would love to find a tackle, but imagining it as like a priority with one of the big picks, at least one of the first two, I don't know.
I don't know if Tyron Smith needs to be replaced now or in 2026.
Tyron Smith could have been replaced last year, and it turned out to be a great decision. But no, I think for the most part, I was. I feel like yes, because again. They made no bones about it, and I know people feel some type of way about it, but the draft is where all of their chips are this year,
Right.
which is great news for us because it gives us a lot to talk about. I get the feeling, you said it on the show Tuesday, like they've got no problem putting a ton of pressure on this
No, they don't.
on this scouting department.
They don't.
And that I think is what they are going to do.
No, they and the scouts realize that too. Scouts are okay with that. I mean, these guys have been together a long time. They know the drill. They know they know they don't dabble in free agency like most teams do. They'll bottom fish some guys. It'll work out for them. But yeah, their draft is where they make their money.
Okay, and I assume that comes with a degree of confidence, right? I
Sure.
mean, especially, say what you will, the Cowboys have a fantastic track record overall since Will McClay took this thing over. How would that make you feel? Like, if you look at this depth chart,
I'd feel awesome.
Yeah.
be awesome because you have the chance to add these guys to the team.
Yeah.
Not at all anxious because you're like, you want us to find playmakers at this many different spots?
Okay, yeah. If you think that in the draft, it's like, all right, boys, got to find 4 starters. I got bad news for you. That's not going to work out.
It's kind of the position that they're in right now.
They need a left guard and a wide receiver that'll start.
Yeah. Well, it sounds better when you put it that way.
Yeah.
They could use a tight end. They could use
They need a tight end a year from now.
another linebacker, maybe another edge rusher. No, you're right. As far as like guys that need to be able to start, I'll throw swing tackle in there too. Again, because
Sure.
you don't have one,
Well,
and even if
we
he's
don't
not
know
a
what Josh
starter,
Ball. We don't know. I mean, your hope
a
is
guy you draft in a month will have played as many snaps as Josh Ball has.
but the hope is that you drafted Josh Ball where you did, and then he took the whole off season to maybe add 10 to 12 pounds and some strength. If that doesn't materialize, if we don't see that like in OTAs, mini camps, and then training camp, then now you're starting to have some questions about that.
I'm not saying you have to believe him, but Mike McCarthy did bring that up on Tuesday. Basically, he was asked by us, like, you haven't done anything to your offensive line. Are you aware that you can?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, what you guys don't see is like Josh Ball and Matt Farniok are here every day. Like, they're putting in the work. Coaches aren't allowed to work with them for another few weeks, but you can tell when a guy's in the gym. McCarthy's office like looks out on the gym. So I don't know. Does that give you any optimism?
Well, no. It just to me that's your hope.
That was yeah.
Well, no,
that's
your
too.
hope. That's your hope right now. I mean, I'll say this though about the scouts and the pressure. The fact that you seem like you have a coaching staff that you can work with. Now we'll see what happens with Joe Philbin. We'll see what happens because there's a disconnect there, I believe, with what maybe the scouts want to do and what Joe Philbin wants to do. And then now it's at a position, too, where there's some primary need, that guard spot. Who is going to win? Are they going to be able to come to a consensus on that potential guard, if that's the direction that they go at 24?
Two things I want to get into in this first segment. One about the Cowboys draft picks. But before we do that, try to keep it topical at the top of the show. Alabama did have its pro day Wednesday. That is noteworthy for a variety of reasons. It turns out when you win the national title every other year, you've got a few good players.
You do.
Mike McCarthy, Will McClay, and Dan Quinn were also all there. Guys, I want to talk about.
Oh, you got a guy?
He not like a new guy. It's not like I'm turning over a rock here, but I want to talk about Jamison Williams because I feel like I don't want to say he's been under the radar. Everybody knows who he is, but I feel like you maybe subconsciously, or I'll say I do. I feel like I subconsciously leave him out of the conversation because he just tore his ACL January 11th, national title game. And you wonder how available he's going to be. Is he going to start the season on PUP? All this good type of stuff. And he didn't even do a pro day yesterday, but he's
doing some hopping and skipping around.
Some
on
video comes out of him doing some hopping and some skipping, and he says he thinks he's on pace to be ready for training camp. And my heart got all aflutter because
I need to know what happened in Michael Gallup's surgery that his is not on schedule and everyone else in the world is.
It's not the surgery. I can't tell you, and I know we've gotten a few questions about that. Mike just had a lot of swelling in the area of the injury. Like sometimes you get a clean tear. And I'm not a doctor, but like no two tears are the same. Mike's
had to chill.
It was swelling for a month. Yeah.
For a month, yeah.
And it's not like Michael Gallup was like, I don't feel like doing this.
He didn't get an ice pack?
I think it's a little bit more
by
than
the
that.
store, get you a 10-pound bag, slap it on there.
I trust
bag of frozen peas.
I trust the highly skilled doctors that do these things. Mike didn't put it off for no reason. He needed to let the swelling go down.
Before getting all the way back on topic, just because I'm just going to take a Jamison Williams branch, isn't it wild that there are two players in this draft that are going to go in the first round that had to transfer to play? Jamison Williams had to transfer because Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Jackson Smith and Jigba were going to be the three starting receivers at Ohio State. He wasn't going to start. And now he's a top 25 pick. Trayvon Walker might be a top 5 pick. I'm sorry, Jermaine Johnson might be a top 15 pick.
Right.
And he had to transfer because he wasn't going to play at Georgia.
So,
I don't even know what the takeaway is.
The takeaway is that college football has always been a super imbalanced sport. Like the rich always get richer.
But you're telling me that Jermaine Johnson isn't better than anyone who played a bunch of snaps on the Georgia defense?
My guy, you're the one that won't shut up about how the dude that's not draft eligible at Georgia is better than all the freaks that are going to be first round picks.
Different position.
What? I'm just saying. Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, and Ryan Day just have stables of freaks at every position.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're able to sustain that type of success. And honestly, it's just self-perpetuating because these guys say, maybe I won't be the guy as a freshman, but I'll take over in the bowl game like Smith and Jigba did, and then he's the guy going for it's like I'll be limited for a year before I go on to be a top 20 pick. Like that's fine.
It's weird to me that he wasn't going to play for Ohio State, basically. But to your point, he should not be forgotten. At 24, if Jamison Williams is available, which I think there's a decent chance he's not, you should 100% have him in consideration.
Real quick, I just think it's funny he transferred to Alabama, which cranks out a top 20 receiver every year. Like Jermaine Johnson went to a lesser program than Georgia. Jamison Williams was like, let me go to the one that's arguably better and become a star. Yeah, go figure. Does this take him out of the Cowboys draft range? Because that breaks my heart if so. If he is ready for training camp and really this is just a speed bump on his way toward being drafted in the top 15. That's a bummer for the Cowboys.
I would say it's hard to get. Like, I literally think it's flip a coin. Will Jamison Williams make 24? Because I think what's going to happen at receiver is you're almost picking style in the top 5 guys. They're just different. If you want the speed guy, then you're going to take Jamison Williams.
Yeah.
If you want an X, maybe you're going to take Drake London. If you want a route runner, maybe you're going to take one of the Ohio State guys. Yeah. It's like, of the names like Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Traylon Burks, Drake London, Jamison Williams, I bet you one of them's there. I have no idea who, but I bet you one of them's there.
I kind of feel like with these receivers, if you're the Cowboys, you're going to have to walk the minefield of the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles are in. They've got those 3 picks. I think at one of those 3 picks, you can clearly see one of these wide receivers going. We're going to have
the Eagles will just draft the bad one, though. That's what they do.
Well, that's your hope. That's your hope. I mean, we all liked Rager. I mean, I know I did.
I know. My tongue is planted firmly in my cheek.
I know that. But like I said, to me, that I feel like that's the minefield that you're going to have to walk if you want one of these. If in fact, because then what happens is, or maybe you're in a situation too, where Kansas City becomes aggressive, Green Bay becomes aggressive to try and go up. If they kind of feel like if they see one of those wide receivers, maybe that's the team that's going. Now, Green Bay has a history of not drafting wide receivers. We've talked about that a bunch. Kansas City is a very aggressive team. So if they feel like that there's a player that they need, I could see them coming from the back of the draft to come get somebody.
Paint me a clearer picture of Jamison Williams. I mean, he has that freakish Tyreek Hill type of speed that forces everyone on the field to account for him. Mm-hmm. He's a vertical threat as well as a horizontal threat. I think he could do all of that gadget type of stuff. But clearly, there's a deficiency in his game, or else we would be talking about him the way that we talk about a Jamar Chase or a guy like that you know is going to be a top 10 pick. So what is it that you ding him for?
I think he is like he's better than a quote speed receiver. Excuse me. I think he's better than Henry Ruggs as a prospect, and Ruggs was a first-round pick. I think he's better than that because I think he's a capable route runner. But I just think there's levels to everything you're looking for at wide receiver. You want a ball that's going to be in the air? I want Drake London or Traylon Burks. Yeah. You want to know what's going to happen after this dude catches the ball? I don't think Jamison Williams is my number 1, but he makes stuff happen after the catch, but it's still mostly predicated on speed. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, I think he is a stretch the field, not going to have a 100-catch season. But it's weird because he's more than just speed, but he's not as good and nuanced in terms of route running or power or above the rim as some of the other guys.
I think it's his hands. I think it's his hands that have the question mark.
He'll body catch some.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the national championship game, the one play he did make, it was really nice. It was a body catch kind of a play. But I think that's the thing. You'll see him catch with his hands. You'll see him extend, and then there's other times you see him. The ball gets on top of him, and that's what good receivers do. They're able to adjust. And I think that's where people would probably – this guy puts the fear of God in defensive backs with his speed. And you could tell, you could watch, you could see when guys try and cover him, and you do not want to give this guy free access. I mean, when he starts running, he just tears up cushion the way it is. And then all of a sudden you're put in a position where he's going to break, and now it's even worse that he's running forward and you're trying to pedal and turn. I think that's the thing that he does really, really well. Now, we'll see if the knee injury takes some of that ability away from him. But if you said, is there one thing that you would say that people would ding him on? He is 179 pounds, and his hands might be just good. That's kind of where I think it's going to be.
Two other Alabama guys I want to hit on. Dan Quinn was there. I don't know if Kellen was there. Kellen's been hanging out in the Midwest, I feel like. He was up at like Iowa State. Went to
just kind of how he gets down. Kind of a Midwest kind of guy.
Fits him.
Do you think he was looking at Brock Purdy?
Maybe
as a backup, one of those 5th-round picks or something like that.
I like. Is that knowing that Will Greer is here? They picked him up off of waivers last year. Like, I wonder how much of a priority that is for them. But yeah, sure.
Maybe not. I mean, I was trying to figure out why
Charlie Kohler, the tight end.
Charlie Kohler
sure.
would be good to go look at.
Yeah. I mean, why not take a look at Brock Purdy if you're a quarterback? The two, Fedarian Mathis, the Bama defensive tackle, and then another one that I feel like owes a little bit more attention than maybe we've given him is Christian Harris, who seems like, especially when you look at the way the linebacker class has changed, Damone Clark having surgery, maybe you're knocking him down your board. Harris seems like he stands to benefit in the sense that maybe not a first-round pick, but a guy that I could see going pretty quickly on Friday. Yes? No?
No, I absolutely agree with you on that. I mean, this is a guy, again, you're looking at a 6'1", 226-pound guy that is always around the football. I mean, you cannot watch an Alabama defense and not see number 8 near the football. He's just super impressive. And the thing I think about him, being at 226, when he tackles, the ball carrier stops. There's no like dragging him down the field kind of for another 4 or 5 yards. I mean, you literally see him when he hits, that ball carrier stops. And I mean, I think the thing about him being that light too, his movement skill is really good too, because he plays a step ahead. And it's like see what's developing and then go. And a lot of those Alabama defensive players are that way. They're so well trained to keep their eyes in the right spot and to run and go get the football. And I think Christian Harris fits right into that mode.
I think, I like Christian Harris. I think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to fall directly between where you pick and where you pick.
We say that about everybody.
It's true.
Somebody has to be there.
Yeah. I'll say it about 1 million guys, and then a bunch of them will be there, and then they're going to pick Sky Moore in the 3rd round, and life's going to be great. I just think I look at the linebacker class, and I think for me anyway, it's Nakobe Dean, Devin Lloyd. I think my 3rd guy is Quay Walker, another Georgia guy. Mm-hmm. And then it's Christian Harris.
Yeah.
And so could the 4th off-the-ball linebacker in a draft make it to your 2nd-round pick? Yeah, sure. And somebody could pick somebody else that I haven't named in front of him, whether it's Chad Muma or Leo Chenal or whatever.
Tyndale is getting a lot of play. He's getting a lot of people are talking about him as possibly being in that mix when you're mentioning the
draft as many Georgia defenders as possible.
I was following along with it was Pete Prisco, I guess. Pete's got a pretty good eye for this stuff. He does a lot of the same stuff. He really studies this stuff, and he was breaking down some tape and a lot of. But I'm also asking some people about. You talked about Walker, Tyndale. Chanel, is that Chanel? The channel? How do you say it?
Kyle's not here to be the pronunciation expert.
The Wisconsin guy.
Yeah.
I mean that to me is all those guys. I think it's a pretty good list of linebackers too. With Asamora too from with what he's been a Boomer Sooner guy. Yeah.
We're gonna talk. I want to talk about him in the next segment. But although Stephen Jones, you talk about whether or not I'm being lied to. Stephen Jones made my eyebrows kind of perk up. I mean, great stuff that he said about Jabril Cox in the sense that they think he can step up and fill Keanu Neal's role.
Jabril Cox, truthers unite.
He also basically was like, yeah, I mean, Jaron Kearse is a linebacker, which is true, but was funny to hear him say that. And so you kind of start doing mental math where you're like, okay, say goodbye to Nakobe Dean, say goodbye to like a top 60 sort of linebacker. I wonder if it's a priority for them. When you throw Jaron Kearse into that mix, now you're really talking about 4 guys that can play that position.
Well, the thing that might get Nakobe Dean is he's 5'11", 4.
We've talked about that. Yeah.
That's where that might end for him. I mean, now he's not for every team, but I don't know how you can't turn on the tape and see he should be on my team. That part of it. If you talk to people after the combine, to a man, they were saying the best interview they had was Nakobe Dean. The best interview they had. We're just talking to him and that the kid gets it. He's a mechanical engineering major. I mean, there's a lot of really super things about him that people were really, kind of singing his praises.
This is one of those things where I differ from y'all in the sense, like, Nakobe Dean he's probably my favorite defender that I've seen in this class, just in terms of enjoying watching him play football. But
I think Sauce Gardner would be mine.
If I mean, he won't be there anyway, but the irony is, like, I just find myself drifting away from Nakobe Dean, not because I don't like him as a player. I just don't think the Cowboys will draft him.
No.
Like, if they don't see the need and we suspect that they maybe don't like his size, it's just like, well, sorry, go be a badass for Arizona.
The
instead.
first night of the draft, we're going to be talking when he gets picked. There's not going to be a negative thing said about him. Everybody's going to talk about, man, that's smart foot, and he's probably going to go to a really good team. It's probably going to be somebody at the back, and we always say that, but in this case, it probably will. Somebody will say, well, man, this guy might be 5'11", but he makes every damn tackle.
I assume y'all aren't spending a ton of time on running backs.
I've looked at a few.
Have you? What do you have opinions on Bryan Robinson? Just wrapping up my Bama theme here.
I agree with whatever Bryan says.
There we go, Bryan.
I think that to me, there's clearly not. I mean, the Hall kid from Iowa State's my favorite one. Spiller from Texas A&M, and then Walker, other kinds of guys. But Robinson, you watched him in those playoff games and stuff like that, and I tell you what, man, he's a tough son of a gun. I think people say, well, that Alabama offensive line. No, this guy can create some things running the football. He can make some people miss. He has a feel for how to to make that cut, to get back, stays in bounce, runs over people and stuff like that. I'm a fan of his. I just like the other ones I mentioned better, Hall, Spiller, and Walker.
I think that's what makes him intriguing to me is, like, the Dallas Cowboys probably shouldn't be looking at running backs until Saturday.
Yeah.
And he fits in that range, does he not?
Absolutely.
Where would you put him?
I would say he was in the fourth round is where I had him.
I look at him and I don't remember many plays where he, like, made my eyebrows go up.
Yeah.
But he's like that guy that's just, it's always at least a 3-yard gain.
No, every
he's
time.
not getting stopped in the backfield. He's falling forward. Good player. All right. You guys ask us questions like you do every show, and we're going to answer them when we come back from this break.
At Smoothie King, we are blending goodness to fuel your greatness. Every blend is crafted to help you achieve your health and fitness goals. Smoothie King uses only whole fruits and organic veggies. You'll never find sugary syrups or artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives. And unlike some other smoothie places, there are 0 grams of added sugar in many of our blends. Smoothie King is proud to be the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys. Place your order in the app or online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King, rule the day.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Football season is almost over, and that means tax season is here. With it comes taxiety. Filing taxes can be stressful if you choose the wrong partner. Don't let taxiety take over this tax season. Liberty Tax will help you get your largest possible refund or your money back. With more than 12,000 tax professionals nationwide, help is always around the corner. Check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/cowboys. Liberty Tax, a brighter way to do taxes.
Hey, Cowboys fans, if you're thinking about attending a game this season, visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today. Stay at the team hotel, have dinner with a Cowboys legend, and experience AT&T Stadium's exclusive VIP Owners Club. Also, tour the Star, get autographs from your favorite players, and talk X's and O's with me, Mickey Spagnola. The official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys will take care of all your travel needs. Visit cowboystravel.com.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Welcome back to the Draft Show, presented by Miller Lite. I don't think I said that at the top of the show, but you should just assume that if Jeff and I are here, Miller Lite is part of the equation. Also, I keep telling y'all this, still haven't done my taxes, but Liberty Tax is a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Y'all should schedule an appointment if you're lazy like me and haven't done it yet. LibertyTax.com/Cowboys. They will get you squared away.
I should too.
I've got about 2 weeks to make that happen.
You can do it.
Until then, it's time for another edition of
Twitter on the 20.
And I teased this in the first segment. I didn't want you to spoil, because I want our listeners to be able to hear their questions read out on the air. So Aaron wants to know about Bryan Asamoah, the OU linebacker, Senior Bowl guy. I remember seeing him down there. I don't know a ton else about him. I would love for y'all to fix that, please.
He's fun. He is the anti-Leo Chenal. Like Leo Chenal at Wisconsin is 6'2", 260 of charging bull. Asamoah is, what is he, over 6 foot, but not quite 6'1", 228, give or take?
Yeah, he's 6 foot, 226.
And dude runs. That's what he does. He is your weak side linebacker that you tell the defensive line, hey, nobody touches Asamoah. He gets to run and chase the ball and tackle everybody because he's one of those linebackers that can absolutely fly. He's just a really good athlete, which means that he can do things in coverage that some of these bigger, plottier guys can't do. So Asamoah, I think, is probably a second or third round pick, and he could probably be a starting weak side linebacker as a rookie.
I said this. He looks short on tape, but he's anything but that. I mean, this guy plays really, really hard. And I said there were several times where he was just right in the quarterback's face after he took the snap. I mean, he was just like that quick. And so he's got a feel for how to get to the ball. And he's got a knack for creating turnovers. So I was watching the Baylor game, and, I mean, he knocked the ball loose with like a really good physical tackle. And so you see a guy 6 foot, 226, you're thinking, oh, he's going to get bounced and things like that. No, this guy takes the fight to you. And I didn't see him get knocked back at all. And I think Jeff hit the nail on the head. Because of how athletic he is, you can use him in coverage, and you can use him really wide, too. You can have him not just drop and play the hook or something like that. I think he can actually cover. I think he can actually run with people. So I think that's a real plus to him as well.
If he can fly, cover, and tackle, I mean, that's all the stuff that a linebacker's really supposed to be good at. I mean, how highly do you have this guy?
Jeff's right. Second round. He's a second round player.
You're just going off your description, You're describing a top 50 pick.
No, he's a second round player. And I was looking through my notes just as you were talking there. I mentioned it here. There were several times in these games I was watching where he had stops to keep the ball carrier from getting a first down. So that tells you something that, like, sometimes you see these guys get, drugged for another, for first down yardage and stuff like that. This guy didn't do that. So, I mean, I have him in the second round.
Keeping with the linebacker theme real quick, Derek wants to know about our guy, Damone Clark. Unfortunately, It came out that he needs neck fusion surgery or something like that.
Probably won't get drafted at all.
You don't think that's the question is, how far do you knock him down the board? You don't think he'll get drafted at all? Even the report, and I mean, of course, we don't know
he couldn't,
specifics of the medicals.
Okay, 6th or 7th round then. When you start to talk about that, is like at what point would you start talking about neck fusion on your board? I mean, I know on my board, I have him as a second round grade. I also have him in red.
Yeah.
Knowing, there's a couple of players. Him and our Michigan defensive end, I have red highlights on him, knowing that, okay, this is where I graded him, but the medical is not going to.
David Ojabo, not just.
Right.
I was for a second. I was like, "What's wrong with Aiden Hutchinson?"
No, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry
fine
about that. But the thing, I have him in red, and I know, and he might not go drafted until people can really get a handle on that surgery.
I'm changing the color of the text on some of my players now because that's a good idea by Bryan.
That's
because with Ojabo, I literally just moved him to where I would take him.
No,
Did you do that with Clark?
No, because I had already disrespected Clark with where I ranked him initially.
Yeah, you don't like Clark. I remember that.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. I want to give the guys their due where they should be taken. I put them in red because then we get started on the draft. Well, who's your best player available? Well, it's Clark. No, it's not because
Darius Washington.
And you know now because he's not, because the medical stuff's going to knock him out.
That's really tough to hear. The report is that he's expected to make a full recovery.
Sure.
I hope that he does. Good player.
Yeah.
Don't even care that he
there's a
went to school
couple
at
of
LSU.
players too. The wide receiver at Clemson. might be
Justin Ross.
Justin Ross might be. I mean, he came back, but people probably maybe they're looking at his situation too. There's a couple of guys in this draft that have those medical conditions. That's the danger that we run into as media scouts is we put guys on board. And into the combine, we didn't know that they've got a narrow spine canal or something like that that's keeping them from drafting them.
We're working with like 28% of the picture here. It feels like sometimes.
There's no question.
Where do y'all have David Bell? Where is he on your board? The Purdue receiver.
Day 3.
Like how far?
This is one of the things that we were talking about before the show. Not into a microphone, where I think old school scouts might hate me sometimes. Where I would say David Bell on tape, you'd be like, maybe 3rd round?
That's where I put him.
Maybe 4th?
That's where I put him. 3rd
and
round.
then when I confirm that he's a 4.65, 4.7 guy that's also small, I would be like, when our pick comes up and if we're going to talk about receivers, I'm probably just going to have some other guys in front of him, so I probably don't worry about David Bell.
Which, that's why I asked, because when you brought up Ardarius Washington, I saw David Bell's times from Purdue Pro Day yesterday, and I was just like, I can imagine we're going to be there on Saturday, and we're just going to keep saying like, "Oh, David Bell's still hanging around."
I think on day 3 you can start having your fights between people where it's like, guys, I don't care. The tape.
Yeah.
Look at the tape.
Yeah.
Like he is draftable, and then you'll have another guy who's like, "Hey, but this guy with terrible tape is an incredible athlete," and it's like, "All right, let's battle it out." So I bet David Bell is a 4th or 5th round pick.
Somewhat related question from Mark.
I don't think it. I mean, I know he's not fast when it comes to
Bell?
running the time speed. I don't think it did those guys any favor to run in those conditions outside at Purdue.
Karlaftis outran him, didn't he? He ran a 4.71 out
4.71, but
he didn't do a whole lot different inside of Lucas Oil Stadium.
No, that's what I'm saying though. But if you want to give yourself a chance to maybe improve, you didn't do yourself any favors going outside and running in 30-degree weather.
Yeah, but I still, this is the old crusty in me, but I'll always give a guy credit for being like, yeah, line it up, I'll do it. I don't like the guy that sits on his time.
It's not true that you'll give him credit for it.
Why?
Because we're doing a show right now where he's not getting credit for it. You're going, oh crap, he ran a 4.7.
No, but I care way more about what he did at the combine than I do about Purdue Pro Day.
We're all killing Hamilton right now because he went out and ran 4.7.
I heard y'all fighting about Hamilton.
If Hamilton didn't run, there's nobody saying anything about Hamilton. I mean, he doesn't think the tape's great, and that's okay. I mean, I respect that. But if he doesn't run at Notre Dame, now you're in a situation where now he has ammunition to say, "Well, I told you the guy played at a 4.7. I told you that." That's the argument that people will use.
I just think with Jaron Kearse back in the building, he's sort of redundant for this team.
Sure.
Anyway.
No, I mean, he's right, and that's what he said. He says if you want to talk about a similar player, I mean, as far as what you do with this football team, yes, this guy plays down.
Sure.
He tackles really well. I think he probably covers a little bit better.
This sort of ties into what we're talking about. Is this question from Mark? I don't know. Can y'all elaborate? Basically, his question was like, if you watch a guy on tape, you like his hands, you feel good about his speed. He's talking about receivers specifically, but it can be anybody. Guy's route tree. You finish it up and you say, okay, he's a 2nd round pick. Like, what are the key delineation lines that you look for when you're like, this is a 1st round guy, this is a 2nd round guy? Because you like a lot of stuff about guys that you put in the 2nd and 3rd round, but what ultimately stops you from giving them that best grade possible?
I think it's just I cheat even further, because to me it's just a way to tier different players, where if I say a guy is a 1st round grade, it means that if I had a top 10 pick, I'm okay picking him. If I got a guy who's got a 1-2 cheater grade or a 2nd round grade and I get into the mid-20s, okay, then I can pick from those guys. I guess it's just my way of separating tiers, but ultimately you're also separating, if you're going to use a 1st round pick, then you are projecting, okay, I think this guy's an NFL starter from day one, and not a bad one, maybe a good one immediately. And if you take a 2nd round pick, then I think in most cases you're saying, I've graded this guy as a 2nd rounder because I think he can be an NFL starter for me that develops into a good one. Now I go to the 3rd round. I think that guy's going to contribute for my football team as a rookie and develop into a starter, potentially. And then you get to 4, 5, 6, 7, where you're throwing darts at, well, I like this about him, and we'll see. So I think you kind of separate it that way. Instant starter that I expect to be good, second round. Instant starter that I hope is good and I expect to be good later. Third round, hopefully starts in year 2 or 3.
It's traits. It's traits with me. It's your deficiencies. If you're not quick enough, if you're not fast enough, if your hands aren't good enough, if you are not a good route runner, it's the things. I start off if I could check off boxes, he does this, and this, I can give you a really, really good grade. If you're deficient in say 3 of the 5 things, I can't give you a good grade because there's position specifics that you look for to play the position. Now there's some guys that take that, like for example, there's Marcus Jones, my guy from Houston, right? The cornerback that's playing here.
If he were 6 foot tall, you'd have a 1 on him.
Bingo. I mean, because you look at him and you're saying, okay, he's 5'8", but this is what keeps him from being this level to me because I've seen this, and this play in this league. Now, it's not always. I mean, there's guys that defy that. But there's also guys that you say, no, this is the reason why. And there's guys that say, you know what, I tried to put him in that round and draft him, and I took a blind eye to the deficiencies just because I thought maybe a gut, and then it busts on you. So I look at traits, and I look at those position specifics. But again, sometimes there's that rare guy that defies all that and ends up being a great player.
It's the time of year where people are always trying to problem solve, and I appreciate that. I've seen this brought up a few times. I would love y'all's take on it. It's not necessarily related to this draft class, but people are talking about the idea of if all else fails, ask Zach Martin to play left guard and move Connor McGovern into that right guard spot. What do you think about that? My gut reaction is to dismiss it because why would you move the best guard in football out of his position? But I'd be curious for your take on it.
I think you need to figure out a way. To me, that's not a terrible question.
And I think the reason I know why people are bringing this up, it's because McGovern played right guard in Tampa in the season opener while Zach had COVID and played a lot better than he did at left guard. Yeah. I understand the logic. I think
to me, you should be able to ask any type of question like that when you watched how things went the last 10 games for this football team at the second half of the year. And, and again, there were some games where there were blowouts and stuff like that. I get it. But when you look at their inability to run the football and their inability to protect at times and all that went in, I think all situations, all questions are open. There's nothing that I would say, well, that's a terrible idea. No, I mean, it's about putting your best 5 there. It's always been about the best 5, in my opinion.
You think that would make a significant difference?
I think it would probably help. I think it would help McGovern. But the problem, I think, with McGovern is that he's got a coach that's not too happy with him. That he's got a coach that doesn't see what you and I and everybody out there and Jeff were talking about. But maybe try him it right. See, the thing I would have done is I would have tried to play Lyle Collins at guard. And then since you love Steele so much, go ahead and put Collins at guard and see how that works. And if that didn't work, if that didn't get better, then you can move on from Lyle Collins. But we will never know that because they could have. What if it would have worked? Then maybe you don't get rid of Lyle Collins. So that to me is, I want to exhaust all possibilities. And if one of them is moving Zach Martin over to left guard, now people will say, most teams are right-handed running the football. That you need him playing next to Steele because Steele is not that strong. But maybe McGovern is that guy. Maybe McGovern is strong enough to hold up over there.
Yeah, I think if that makes your best 5, it's not a dumb question at all. It just seems a little jarring when you first hear it.
That's what I'm saying.
What are you talking about? The right guard who's been a right guard his whole career and destroying everyone? Yeah. And then you go, right. But I've also seen that right guard play right tackle, and he was great. Yeah. And that right guard I've seen play left tackle, and he was great. So if that right guard could step over to left guard and not have a drop-off, The other guy who, if we had to play today, would be starting is a bad left guard. And he might be an okay right guard. If that makes your best 5, it makes sense. It just sounds weird.
It's
Used to Zach Martin
and it's
being
also
right guard.
it doesn't feel fair to be like, hey, you're the one rock on this whole thing.
Yeah. Well,
you're being punished for this.
sorry.
But yeah, no. I mean, whoever said it was fair.
Trying to win.
No jarring than moving All-Pro Larry Allen to left tackle from left guard. No jarring than that.
The badasses can do whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. To me, you've got to figure out what's going on at that left guard spot. You've got to figure that out.
I think the answer, Jerry, y'all talked about it. Jerry said it himself. Like, come hell or high water, they're going to address that.
Sure.
And so I think that will prevent them from having to do it. But I don't think it's a bad question.
No, it's not at all.
Last one, real quick. We're running out of time. That's okay. A fun little would you rather. We're running out of time in my imaginary clock of what the segment should be.
Oh.
Not anything else.
I just like to watch myself on the screen.
Yeah,
whipping my
you
head around.
freak me out. You look like my dog. Would you rather come out of the big picks of this draft?
Your dog's annoying.
It's not necessary. Coming from you.
When you're gone, he becomes annoying.
Your dogs never shut up. Would you rather come out of this draft with Arkansas receiver Traylon Burks and Memphis center Dylan Parham?
Okay.
Parham, sorry. Mm-hmm. Or Iowa center Tyler Linderbaum and Jalen Tolbert, the South Alabama guy, receiver.
I would.
Yeah, I thought you would like that one.
I like Burks considerably more than Tolbert, and I obviously like Linderbaum considerably more than Parham.
That's what makes this fun.
I will take option B. Give me a first-round graded player and a second-round graded player because that first one is more of a 1-2 and a 2-3. So I'm going to go on grades. Give me Linderbaum and Jalen Tolbert.
If you gave me Burks and Fortner from Kentucky,
that wasn't the question.
You're not allowed to just start swap. This is not we don't make it your own way.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying.
Burger King.
I would make one would be my selection all day.
Okay.
But with the way it is currently configured, give me the Iowa center and that kid from
Jalen Tolbert.
Tolbert, yeah.
So y'all agree on that?
Yeah.
You rather have the?
I'll disagree if you just want us to fight.
No, I
don't do it.
I don't care. But
we'd like that.
It's as easy as just saying Linderbaum is your highest graded player of all of those 4,
Correct.
right?
Yeah,
just give me the best possible player.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. I feel like we were big on Linderbaum for the very beginning, and then it got boring and we dropped off. And now I'm coming back around. Like, that would be pretty fun. I wouldn't dislike that one bit.
The draft stuff is funny because, like you mentioned, Fedarian Mathis at Alabama.
Yeah.
And after the Senior Bowl, I feel like we had this group of defensive tackles that everyone was talking about, and they were all going to be second-round picks. Mm-hmm. And then now the Senior Bowl is far enough away that it's like, wait a minute, that was just like a one technique who had a nice week.
Yeah.
Let's not overreact, guys. And it all just kind of moves around.
Watch Davis, Travis Jones, Wyatt, all these defensive tackles, maybe Logan Hall. Watch them all go in the first round. Every one of those guys.
I mean, you can't rule anything out, right? Yeah. Just again, because of the way that this whole thing is stacked, would not surprise me. All right, one more break, and then. Yeah, we got like 15 more minutes of stuff. Don't worry about it. We'll be right back.
Football season is almost over, and that means tax season is here. With it comes taxiety. Filing taxes can be stressful if you choose the wrong partner. Don't let taxiety take over this tax season. Liberty Tax will help you get your largest possible refund or your money back. With more than 12,000 tax professionals nationwide, help is always around the corner. Check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/Cowboys. Liberty Tax, a brighter way to do taxes.
Hey, Cowboys fans, if you're thinking about attending a game this season, visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today. Stay at the team hotel, have dinner with a Cowboys legend, and experience AT&T Stadium's exclusive VIP Owners Club. Also, tour the Star, get autographs from your favorite players, and talk X's and O's with me, Mickey Spagnola. The official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys will take care of all your travel needs. Visit cowboystravel.com.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
This is Chad Hennings, former cowboy and proud veteran of the United States Air Force. When my fellow military veterans choose VA, they receive life-changing benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you are a veteran, you may be eligible for healthcare, education, and training benefits, a home loan guarantee, housing assistance, and more. Choose VA for the benefits you've earned. Visit choose.va.gov to learn more. That's choose.va.gov.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite. Guys, I got a new read for you. Miller Lite proudly presents the first Cowboys Taco Fest at Miller Lighthouse at AT&T Stadium. It's on Saturday, May the 7th.
Oh.
Celebrate Cinco de Mayo with world-class tacos, drinks, live music, and more. Take advantage of early bird pricing with tickets as low as $15. Visit SeatGeek.com, the official ticketing provider of AT&T Stadium.
What was it called again? I'm looking it up.
Cowboys Taco Fest.
I thought that was during the draft. That was going to be kind of funny.
It's I think it's a week after the draft. I guess it would technically be Siete de Mayo, but
I love
it's the spirit of the holiday.
Tacos are my jam.
I agree. One more segment here with Bryan and Jeff. I wanted to try to mix it up. I think you guys can agree. There's only so much you can say about
words.
Well, no, you can talk forever. The English language has like 2 million words or whatever.
Most of them don't make sense.
I mean, it would just there's just only so much you can do about pick 24 and pick 56 and receiver O-lineman, like all that. I mean, we get it, right? But I wanted to try to have a conversation about what day 3 is going to look like for the Cowboys. Obviously, that's going to hinge on what happens with pick 24, 56, and 88, but they're going to make the vast majority of their picks on Saturday. 6 of the 9, I've got them written down here. They pick 129th, and then starting in the 5th round, they're going to pick 5 times in about 40 picks, 155, 167, 176, 178, and 193. Actually, I misspoke. We have no idea if they will pick that many times because you could do a lot of stuff with it, which I just kind of wanted to have a conversation knowing that it's borderline impossible to answer just about what you can accomplish with those picks and what you would like to accomplish. And you can take that in any direction you want to. If you want to try to trade it for a veteran or move up in another round, you got a lot of resources to play with on Saturday, and I'd love to kind of get your feel for how you'd like to spend them.
The Cowboys still at this point have about $15 million to play with. Now, you'll need to account for the first 3-round picks, first-year cap hits, but so they've got $10 million to play with or whatever.
Keep in mind, they will get a lot of that money they will get in June with the savings from the Lyle Collins cut. Like, they don't have that right now.
Okay.
And they'll get it.
I would love for them to flip one of those picks for a left guard. I don't have that left guard's name in front of me, but what I'm looking for is a Robert Quinn situation. I'm looking for an NFL team that has an aging, solid starting left guard that isn't very good. That's probably, and he's in the last year of his deal, and said team is hoping that a year from now they can pick Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, and so a veteran guard on the last year of his deal means nothing to them. Here, have a 5th-round pick. I'm going to flip that for my starting left guard. Because I do love having that many picks, because now you're giving yourself a reasonable chance to find a future starter on day 3, because you get – 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 swings at it? I think they have 6 picks on day 3.
And again, y'all, we mentioned this on Tuesday. The NFL views this as a much larger talent pool than usual.
Yeah, I'd like to use 5 of those picks, and I would like to flip one of them to a tanking team for their left guard. I just have to go look at who are the tanking teams and is there a player that fits that bill. I'm looking for the Robert Quinn of left guards.
That's the tough thing about this situation is I think that's a wonderful idea. It's hard to know 32 rosters, and in addition, who on those rosters has an expiring contract that the team would rather not pay.
It's a very tedious thing to go look up. So, Bobby Belt, if you're listening, you enjoy tedious work.
He'll be walking around later tonight, and he'll text you about that. I'm sure.
I kind of there's a kind of a few spots. I was just looking at my board to kind of get an idea of your question.
Kicker, punter. Well,
kicker. That'd be fine. I was thinking of Chris Paul, who was at Tulsa, who was a tackle that could play guard. I was thinking of Zach Tom from Wake Forest, who plays tackle plays guard that people projecting as a center. I was thinking about Ferguson, the tight end from Wisconsin, as a possibility of a guy. Terrell Bernard is another guy. We were talking about linebackers from Baylor, and I was. It's funny. There's these undersized linebackers, but man, this guy has got something to his game because, you talk about coverage. It's more like I say. These guys are really good athletes, but a little bit undersized. It's more than just drop and play the hook. And this guy Bernard has got the ability to kind of just to run with guys, to take guys. He blitzes. I mean, he carries routes. He makes tackles in space. I mean, I only saw there was a couple of times, and I was watching the Texas and Iowa State games where he got tied up a little bit, but most of his game is like on the move. So I kind of feel like, though, with the fourth-round picks, the fifth-round picks, those are the kinds of names that I'm looking at right now for guys that maybe like that, you might have a little bit like, say, Bernard played at Baylor. And he is only 6'1", and he is only 224 pounds. But it might be somebody that Dan Quinn wants to bring in here because of the burst, the range, and all those kinds of things.
So do you want to use all those picks? I mean, that's what they did last year.
I'm going to try because what's going to happen, and I think Jeff's right. I was talking. Well, I talked in Jacksonville, and I brought it up last night with Jeff and Dane and I. Chason in Jacksonville,
our former first-round target.
You can go get him if you want. If you're interested in going to get how I know we all make a Sharpay face where we get all squished up, and all that because we don't want the player. But would you take one of those picks because Jacksonville's listening? They're listening. I don't think they're going to hold you up on any. But if you really thought that enough of a guy, would you say, well, Dan Quinn can do something with him? I know Jeff he didn't have a name for a guard, and I really don't either right now. But I have a feeling, though, there's somebody out there the pro personnel department's looking at that's a second or third year guy, and a team's got a little bit of a surplus, and they would take one of those fifth-round picks and move on from that.
My thought is, A, Dan wasn't here when they scouted Chason.
Yeah.
And B,
I could find that out because I know enough people in Atlanta that could tell me what they thought about him. And if they thought that he was not a very good player, then that would probably eliminate Dan from wanting him.
We catch a lot of grief about Caleb Von Chason, and the thing I always go back to is I don't think anybody really loved him that much. Again, it was just like this is what they need, and this is what they're going to do because there's only so many guys in a draft class that
the
can
draft
bend
gods
like
saved
that.
you from potentially drafting him.
They really did.
Yeah.
Next, I think for most people, I can't speak for NFL teams, but I think for a lot of people, you saw Caleb Von Chason and you were like, oh, okay, a toolsy pass rushing prospect.
Yeah.
Which is like, all right, second round grade.
Yeah.
And then CeeDee Lamb, firm, first round grade.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different conversation if CeeDee is there or not to what are we talking about trying to accomplish.
Chason, Diggs. I mean, there was a possibility. We kept hearing Diggs' name too, and they ended up getting Diggs at 60.
I love the draft because if you remember in that pre-draft process, when Diggs' name started to come up, it was like, not at 17. No, not at 17.
Yeah.
Anything with that. Second round, fine, but not in the and now.
The problem is when you only have like
all-pro.
6 guys that you're like, hey, at 17, I'll take one of them.
Sure.
Right, what if they're all gone by 8?
Yeah.
I do. So when I proposed this idea to myself, I didn't propose it to. Yeah, when I thought up this idea, I went back. I was looking at the 5th round, and You can find guys. Like I'm looking at it right now.
You can absolutely find guys.
Wyatt Teller was a 5th-round pick.
Sure.
Dre Greenlaw, who's a very useful player for the 49ers, was a 5th-round pick. Tyler Conklin, the Vikings tight end. And on and on and on. But you want to know what I really noticed is guess who reliably makes the Pro Bowl from the 5th round? It's not that it ain't that deep. Kickers and punters.
Oh, now we're cooking.
If a guy's good enough to get drafted there, Michael Dixon was a 5th-round pick. Matt Gay, the Pro Bowler for the Rams, I believe.
Rams, yeah.
5th-round pick.
How did he catch a short? What was that game against the Rams?
Can't connect from 50 yards.
Tampa, it was like,
he was short on a 47-yarder. Still went to the Pro Bowl. And then Evan McPherson, who was money for the Bengals all through the playoffs and really the season, 5th-round pick. I don't care what you tell me. And if you can trade that for a guard, that would be great. Just use one of those picks on a kicker, please.
They very well could. This is where Bones Fossil is going to come in, because I know when I worked here back in the day, we had a guy named Steve Hoffman. I never evaluated a kicker in the 6 years I worked in scouting here, because Hoffman would go down to Home Depot and he'd get 10 guys to go to Texas Stadium, and then he'd find an all-pro out of that group somehow, some way. But this is up to Bones and those guys. I mean, I think that that there's some danger drafting these kickers, though. There really is. I know what you're saying about Pro Bowls and stuff like that, but think about the ones that have been picked in the 2nd and the 3rd rounds of that have been busts.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. If somebody comes into the war room on Friday and says we should draft a kicker, you say, you're lucky I won't fire you here on the spot. Get out. Yeah. Go away.
Okay.
But starting outside of the top, after about pick 130, I'm listening.
Yeah.
You're going to be listening for the punter after about pick 70.
That's
Get
fine.
ready.
I mean, hey, I would have been – it doesn't make sense for the Cowboys anymore, but good for them. Go get Punt God from San Diego State.
Well, but people are going to look at him as a weapon. That's what
they should.
It's like all of a sudden you're like, okay, like short nickel corner or punter that punts it 80 yards every time. That's kind of where that's going to be. That's the discussion.
I hear you. It just, again, it doesn't, it's, I mean, Anger was that guy too.
Sure.
I don't have any worries about that from the Cowboys standpoint.
But your kicker, you need a kicker. This team plays too many close games not to have a kicker.
I agree. What else we got? Okay. I can go back to this.
Where are you going? What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about, and now that we covered that, let's go back to the boring 1st round, because I did want to ask you.
I hate the 1st round.
What would your dream scenario of choices be? And you don't have to tell me one specific player, but just give me the scattershot group of guys that you would like to have that choice between. Or do you not want a choice?
I am a big fan of not having a choice. I love to have the draft do it for me, where it's just
take the suspense out of it.
Where it's like, oh, look, everybody I wanted except one is gone. Because then you can't screw up. And I love not screwing up more than I like being right. Let's eliminate all risk here. And what happens is my top 5 receivers are gone, the edge guys are gone, and what is remaining is one of Linderbaum, Kenyon Green, and Zion Johnson. And I'll just pick the one that made it. Because then you don't have to wonder, did we pick the wrong guy? Zion Johnson and Kenyon Green, to me, Spider-Man meme gif thingy. Where it's like, which one would you rather have? I'm going to say Johnson, but am I all that confident in that? No. But am I super confident if you told me, all right, Linderbaum's gone, Kenyon Green is gone, do you feel great about taking Zion Johnson? Hell yeah.
So
but if I got a guy that's graded right with him, it's like, oh God, okay, all right, let's not pick the wrong one.
It's O-line all the way for you, though.
Unless something, I would throw in a name that we talked about earlier that I don't think they'll talk about. Nakobe Dean at 24 would be a great pick. He'd be a great pick.
I think so.
That dude is a baller. You can take all your 5'11" and why didn't he test? You can take all of it. You can ball it up. You can throw it in a trash can. The one that's right over there. Nakobe Dean is a baller, but I don't think the Cowboys care because I think they feel like they're okay at linebacker. The positional value is not great, and so they're not going to worry about it. Get Derek Stingley to 24. Talk about that. You get him there, that could change something.
I wrote these down. I wrote down, this is so funny, in no particular order. I'd like a choice. If you give me a choice of a wide receiver, an edge, a center, or a cornerback.
I don't want that choice.
Give me
People screw up choices.
No, that's what I want.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
You're gonna screw it up. You're gonna pick the wrong guy.
No, you're not. No, you're not. If you just take however your stack is, you take the best one. You stack them. You stack that receiver. You stack that edge. You stack that center, and they stack the corner. And I'm with you. I don't think. But we said this before. We said they're not going to take that linebacker, but they've surprised us before in a draft. But I would, and I just kind of kept that linebacker just below that line because that would be my hope. But if you gave me in any order you want to have now, the guards, I don't know, because I just think I know they're going to take a guard. I just hope whatever guard they take is the right one. Because I have questions. I have questions about Green. I have questions about Johnson. I have questions about Ingram. I have questions about all these guys.
I think that's what makes me nervous.
And I feel better about the wide receiver, the edge, the center, and the cornerbacks and the linebackers than I do the guards.
I am completely unsold that unless it's maybe Tyler Linderbaum, I'm completely unsold that a guard would be the best player available to you at 24. I refuse to believe.
I think. At least the way I see them, I think the odds are it will be the best player.
You think
for me?
Like even
I think it's odds on
across
that'll
the board.
Be the best player.
Even again, like throw Dean in there. Maybe even if the Cowboys don't like him, Dean
could throw that off.
What
Linderbaum could throw that off.
You think Green and Johnson are definitively better than at least a couple of those receivers?
I have Green and Johnson similar to the top 7 wide receivers.
Okay.
So I like them more. I like them more than some people do. I guess.
I think I'm over here with Brian.
We're watching together. You're going to show me where these guys aren't good.
Okay. I didn't say they weren't good. I didn't say they weren't good.
I would take either guard over Chris Olave. Like that's my hot take of draft season.
That is a hot take.
I hope that everybody's right because I feel like I'm wrong right now. This feels very much Joey Bosa to me right now.
Well, that worked out really well for.
No, that's what I'm saying.
The LA
Chargers. There's always one or two guys that I just don't have a really good handle on.
Blow up everything and go get Kayvon Thibodeau in the top 10 because we've now entered a world where I think the majority of people are liking Trayvon Walker more than Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah.
I watched them both play. Yeah. You're all insane.
I think
every one of you's insane.
Yeah.
I think it's
Kayvon Thibodeau, his tape destroys Trayvon Walker's tape.
Yeah,
with no disrespect intended toward Trayvon Walker or anybody who loves him.
You can disrespect him all you want. He's going in the top 5. They know it's gonna be fine.
I think we're into that echo chamber part of draft season where people just
we're running out of things to talk about.
He tested so well.
Yeah.
One of them One of them disrespects offensive tackles every time it's a pass rush rep. One of them doesn't.
That's true.
Kayvon Thibodeau's a stud.
He's not lying.
Bring me Thibodeau.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Keep him dropping.
Yeah, we'll see just how far
We've
he falls.
already got him in mocks down to 8 to 10. Bring him further.
Quick programming note.
Amazing.
It will be April the next time we talk to y'all. If you stuck with us for this long, I would like you to know for these final few weeks, we're going to bring back Tell Me More. We'll try to get into the real weeds on the, there's only so much we can say about the top 120 picks. We're going to we'll find y'all some diamonds in the rough here over the last few weeks.
Sounds good.
We'll be back next week. I think Kyle will be back if he hasn't just up and moved on us.
Might have quit.
For Jeff and Brian, I'm Dave. Thanks for listening to the Draft Show. We'll see y'all next time.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!